Emotions are not weakness, they are depth. They are the soft, unseen layers of human experience, often misunderstood and misrepresented in a world that values control, perfection, and logic above all else. But to feel deeply is not to fall apart, it is to be fully alive. Emotions are not cracks in our armor, they are the very architecture of our soul. They are what make us human, what connect us to one another, and what give life color, texture, and meaning. From the moment we are born, we are flooded with emotion, raw, unfiltered, and pure. A baby cries not out of weakness, but from the instinctive need to express, to be held, to be heard. That first cry is not just a sound, it is a declaration. I am here. As we grow older, society begins to teach us otherwise. We are conditioned to mute our feelings, to hide our tears, to smile through our pain. Especially for women, emotions are often weaponized against them, used as proof of instability, dramatics, or being too much. But what if being too much is exactly what the world needs? To be emotional is to be able to sit with discomfort, to hold space for others, to feel joy and sorrow without needing to justify it. Emotions are not flaws to be fixed, but signals, guides that tell us what matters to us, what hurts us, what we long for. A person who feels deeply has the power to understand not just their own pain, but the pain of others. That kind of empathy is not a liability, it's a gift. It allows us to connect in a world that is increasingly disconnected, to offer softness in a world that has grown hard, to speak truth in a world that too often stays silent. There is immense strength in vulnerability. It takes courage to show up with your heart exposed, to cry when your soul feels heavy, to say, I'm not okay when the world expects you to be strong. True power lies in authenticity, and authenticity cannot exist without emotion. You cannot love without risking hurt. You cannot create without embracing chaos. You cannot grow without facing fear. Emotion is not the enemy of strength, it is the source of it. In love, in leadership, in loss, emotions shape us. They teach us what we value, they remind us of what we've survived, they bring us to our knees, and they help us rise again. A woman who feels deeply is not broken, she is in tune. She is grounded in the truth of her own spirit. She does not run from emotion, she rides the wave. She listens to its wisdom, she lets it transform her. To feel is not to fall apart, it is to come home to yourself. And in a world that teaches us to numb, to rush, to harden, choosing to feel is the most radical, powerful thing we can do. Because emotions are not weakness, they are depth. And depth is where the real beauty lives. A woman's love is not small. It is cosmic in nature. It expands far beyond what the eye can see or what words can ever fully capture. It is not measured in grand gestures or poetic lines, but in the quiet, persistent way she gives herself to those she loves, over and over again, without keeping score. Her love is not a whisper, it is a force. It pulses through her presence, moves through her hands, and vibrates in the energy she brings into a room. It is not just something she gives, it is something she is. When a woman loves, she does not skim the surface. She dives into the depths fully and fearlessly. Her love does not ask for conditions or guarantees. It is not a transaction. It is a transformation. It heals, nurtures, protects, and uplifts. She pours herself into the people she cares about with a sacred kind of devotion, one that is rarely understood but always felt. This is not the kind of love that fades with time or cools with distance. It lingers. It echoes. It shapes the lives of those lucky enough to receive it. Her love is not just romantic. It is maternal, sisterly, friendly, universal. It is the kind of love that remembers your scars and celebrates your growth. She will love you through your confusion, through your silence, through your mess. She sees through the masks, past the ego, and into the truth of who you are. And even when you forget your own worth, she will still hold your light in her hands, refusing to let it go dim. There is something elemental about the way a woman loves. It is like fire, warm and illuminating, but capable of burning away everything false. It is like water, soft yet relentless, carving paths where none existed. It is like air, unseen but always present, vital to every breath. And it is like earth, grounded, dependable, and full of quiet strength. Her love contains the wisdom of generations, the prayers of her ancestors, and the dreams of her future daughters. It is the love that builds empires, that raises children, that survives heartbreak and still chooses softness. To underestimate the magnitude of a woman's love is to misunderstand the universe itself, because her love is not a delicate thing to be held in cautious hands. It is expansive, infinite, divine. It can hold contradiction. It can contain multitudes. She can be tender and fierce, forgiving and firm, gentle and unyielding, all in the same breath. Her love does not shrink to make others comfortable. It stretches to make others whole. She does not love because she is desperate. She loves because she is full of stories, full of strength, full of soul. Her love is not born from lack but from abundance. And when she chooses to give it, she is not asking for completion, she is offering the stars. Because a woman's love is not small, it is cosmic in nature. And those who receive it are forever changed. To feel deeply is to live authentically. It is to peel back the layers we've been told to wear and exist in the raw, unfiltered truth of who we are. In a world that praises detachment and emotional control, to feel, really feel, is an act of quiet rebellion. It is choosing presence over pretense, heart over mask, truth over comfort. When we allow ourselves to feel without judgment, we allow ourselves to be seen, not just by others, but by us. There is nothing more honest, nothing more real than that. Emotions are not interruptions to life. They are life. The joy that makes your chest swell, the sorrow that brings you to tears, the fear that grips you in silence, the love that sets you ablaze. These are not distractions from the path. They are the path. Every feeling is a signpost, guiding you toward what matters, showing you what's alive inside. To ignore them is to walk blind. To feel them is to walk awake. It is through our deepest emotions that we come to understand what we value, what we believe in, and who we truly are when no one is watching. Because to feel deeply means to experience life in its full spectrum, not just the highs but the lows. And yes, it can be overwhelming, it can hurt, but it is in those moments of ache and vulnerability that we learn our resilience. We begin to realize that pain doesn't break us, it reveals us. The tears you cry are not signs of failure. They are signs that your heart is open, that you are engaged with the world in a way that's real, not rehearsed. And in that openness, you find connection with yourself, with others, with something greater than all of us. There is a certain courage in choosing to feel, because to feel deeply is to risk disappointment, heartbreak, rejection, but it is also to open the door to wonder, to beauty, to love that moves through you like music. It is the laughter that bubbles up unexpectedly. It is a quiet peace of being understood. It is a sacred stillness that comes when you realize you don't have to hide anymore. When you feel deeply, you no longer perform life, you inhabit it. Authenticity doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from honoring your experience, from letting your emotions speak instead of silencing them. It comes from saying, this is who I am, and this is what I feel. even when that truth is messy, even when it's inconvenient. The world doesn't need more perfection, it needs more presence. And nothing brings you into the present more than emotion. Feeling is not a detour, it is the soul's way of reminding you that you're still alive. To feel deeply is not a weakness, nor is it something to outgrow. It is the gateway to empathy, to connection, to meaning. It is the heartbeat of authenticity. When you allow yourself to feel without shame, you return to your truest self. And in that returning, you begin to truly live. Emotional intelligence is the most powerful form of wisdom. It is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage not only your own emotions, but also those of others. While traditional intelligence may open doors, emotional intelligence determines how you walk through them, how you lead, how you connect, how you grow. It shapes the way we navigate relationships, handle conflict, respond to stress, and ultimately how we experience life. It is the silent language of the heart, guiding decisions that numbers and logic alone cannot explain. To be emotionally intelligent is not to avoid emotion, but to understand it. It is knowing that anger can be a mask for hurt, that fear often hides beneath resistance, that joy can be quiet and grief can be loud. It is about decoding the complex inner world that drives behavior. When you possess emotional intelligence, you learn to pause before reacting, to ask, what's really going on here, instead of jumping to judgment. See that pause is power. It's the difference between reacting out of habit and responding with intention. Emotional intelligence creates space for empathy. It allows us to see others beyond their words, to hear what isn't being said, to hold space for discomfort without rushing to fix it. In a world full of fast opinions and louder voices, empathy is a rare and radical skill. It brings people closer, creates safety, and fosters connection. You don't have to agree with someone to understand them. Emotional intelligence teaches us that understanding is often more transformative than agreement. There is also a quiet strength in being able to manage your own emotional landscape. It does not mean suppressing feelings or pretending everything is fine. It means being aware of what you're feeling and why, and choosing how to express it in a way that honors both yourself and those around you. This is not always easy, especially in moments of stress or conflict, but emotional intelligence is what helps us come back to center. It is what allows us to apologize when we're wrong, to listen when we want to argue, to walk away when staying would hurt more. Leadership, whether in work, relationships, or personal growth, depends on this inner awareness. People follow those who make them feel seen and heard, who respond with calm in chaos, who uplift rather than control. That kind of leadership doesn't come from titles or resumes, it comes from emotional intelligence. It's what turns knowledge into wisdom, experience into growth, and connection into trust. In a time when information is everywhere, but understanding is rare, emotional intelligence is the wisdom that bridges the two. It invites us to be both strong and soft, to be aware and accepting, to be thoughtful and authentic. It teaches us that how we feel matters, and how we treat others because of how we feel matters even more. It is the deepest form of intelligence because it understands what cannot be taught in books or measured in scores: the human heart. The strength of a woman lies in her ability to be vulnerable without breaking. Her power is not found in how well she hides her pain, but in how bravely she embraces it. Vulnerability is often misunderstood as fragility, as if softness makes a person weak. But in truth, to be vulnerable is to stand in the open without armor, to show your wounds without shame, and to speak your truth even when your voice shakes. It is not the absence of fear, it is the decision to move forward despite it. A woman who allows herself to be vulnerable chooses honesty over illusion. She does not pretend to be invincible. She does not wear a permanent mask of composure just to meet the world's expectations. Instead, she says, "This is who I am," with all the beauty and ache that come with being human. Her strength is not in how loud she is, but in how real she is. She understands that courage isn't always about fighting battles outside. It's about facing the ones within, again and again, and still choosing to show up. There is something profoundly powerful about a woman who can cry and still stand tall, who can admit she is hurting and still keep loving, who can be open about her struggles and still move through life with grace. She is not broken by what she feels. She is shaped by it. Her tears do not make her less. They cleanse, release, and remind her she is alive. Vulnerability is not her weakness. It is a strength disguised as softness. The world often asks women to be everything at once: strong but not intimidating, emotional but not too emotional, successful but not too ambitious. In that constant balancing act, vulnerability becomes an act of rebellion. It is saying, I don't have to be perfect to be worthy. I don't have to hide my truth to be respected. A woman who embraces her vulnerability reclaims her power from a society that told her strength means silence. She redefines strength as the ability to feel deeply and remain whole. Her strength is seen in how she lifts others even when she is carrying her own pain. It is heard in the words she shares to comfort, encourage, or heal. It is found in the quiet moments when she chooses peace over pride, presence over pretending, softness over shutting down. She knows that her vulnerability connects her to others, that it is the thread that weaves empathy, compassion, and love into the fabric of her life. She does not break easily, not because she is made of stone, but because she bends like water. She flows around the pain. She adapts, she feels, she heals, and she rises. The strength of a woman is not defined by how much she can suppress. It's revealed in how much she can hold, release, and transform. In her vulnerability, she finds resilience. In her truth, she finds freedom. And in her ability to be open without shattering, she becomes unshakable. Love is not possession, it is presence. It is not about owning someone or claiming them as yours. It is about being with them, truly with them, in a way that honors who they are, not who you want them to be. Real love does not confine or control. It does not shrink or limit. Instead, it allows space, breath, and freedom. Love rooted in presence means showing up moment after moment without needing to hold on tightly out of fear. It is about connection, not control. Companionship, not captivity. Possession comes from a place of lack. It says, I need to hold you because I'm afraid to lose you. Presence comes from fullness. It says, I am here with you because I choose to be, not because I have to be. When love turns into possession, it loses its softness. It becomes a grasping, a clinging, a desperate attempt to keep something that was never meant to be held so tightly. People are not things. Their hearts are not trophies. Love, when real, flows. It is a river, not a cage. To love someone in their presence is to see them clearly and accept them fully. It is to witness their joy, their pain, their silence, and their growth without trying to bend them into something else. Presence means listening without interrupting, holding without suffocating, supporting without smothering. It is a quiet, sacred kind of companionship. One that says, I see you just as you are, and that is enough. There is no force, no pressure, no performance, just being. Being present in love means offering your attention, your time, your emotional availability. It's the long conversations, the shared laughter, the held hand in difficult moments. It's the patience when someone is struggling and the stillness when there are no words. It's not about what you get from the other person, it's about what you give with an open heart. Presence says, I am with you, even in your chaos. I choose you even in your uncertainty. I respect you even when you need space. Possessiveness, on the other hand, arises from fear and insecurity. It leads to jealousy, control, and dependency. It treats love as a transaction or a title, something to be won and then guarded. But love is not a prize. It is not earned and then locked away. It is a living energy, something that must be nurtured, respected, and allowed to grow. Love that thrives does so in freedom, not in fear. When love is present, it becomes a sanctuary, not a prison. It invites, it doesn't demand. It welcomes, it doesn't trap. It says, be who you are, and I will meet you there. And in that meeting, open, honest, and unfold, something beautiful happens. Trust deepens, bonds grow stronger, hearts expand, because love that is present does not need to own. It only needs to be. And in that being, it becomes more powerful, more lasting, and more true than any possession ever could. Society fears the woman who feels, and therefore she is unstoppable. She is not easily silenced, not easily swayed, because her power comes from within. Her emotions are not liabilities to be tucked away, but flames that light her path. She moves through life with her heart wide open, feeling everything, the joy, the sorrow, the rage, the love, and because of that, she knows herself deeply. A woman who feels cannot be manipulated by a world that profits from her doubt. She has met herself in the depths, and once a woman knows her own depth, no one can convince her to live at the surface. For centuries, women have been told that emotion is weakness, that to cry is to collapse, that to laugh fiercely is to lose control. But those who say this have never understood the strength it takes to feel in a world that rewards numbness. A woman who feels is a threat to systems built on silence. She does not look away from pain. She does not shrink in discomfort. She listens to her intuition, trusts her body, and honors her truth. She knows that her feelings are not chaos. They are clarity. They are her compass.